So intercessors should, like, there are certain things they might see coming, or like have dreams and see and sense something, right? Yeah. So some people are like, what am I supposed to do with the dream? Pray. Because some stuff that you may see that's negative, God wants you to push back that darkness.
Come on, spiritual warfare.
Come on, so he's giving you a glimpse of what can happen if you don't push back with prayer. And this is the lesson, guys, that I see present in Nehemiah 7. This is the lesson in Nehemiah 7. In Nehemiah 7:1, watch this. It says, after the wall had been rebuilt, and I had set the doors in place, the gatekeepers, the musicians, and the Levites were appointed. I put in charge of Jerusalem my brother Hanani, Hanani, along with Hananiah, the commander of the citadel, because he was a man of integrity and he feared God more than most people. I said to them, the gates of Jerusalem are not to be opened until the sun is hot. And while the gatekeepers were still on duty, have them shut the doors and bar them. Also appoint residents of Jerusalem as guards, some at their posts and some near their own houses. What is he doing? He's protecting what has been erected.
That's so good.
You see that?
That's good. Yeah.
I think sometimes we just look at Nehemiah's reconstruction. We look at, he led the effort to rebuild these walls. He says here, remember last week we looked at Nehemiah 6, which says, I hadn't put the doors in place.
That's right.
Everything was in place but the doors.
Right.
Chapter 7, he says, now the doors are in place. But even though the doors were in place, this is what I did. I put this in place to protect what I had reconstructed. We believe God is going to give you the wisdom and the grace and the favor that you need to reconstruct some things. He's going to give all of us the wisdom and the favor and the grace we need to reconstruct what needs to be reconstructed in our life. But after God does that, the wisdom for reconstruction, we need to say, now God, give me the wisdom for protection. Help me to not fall in the complacency trap. Nehemiah did not fall in that trap, so he put things in place to protect what had been erected.
Lord, that's so good. Protect.
100%.
Right? You got to protect what you build. And I think one of the things is when you guard the gates, look at who he appointed. Like you have to be selective and you have to put the right people in place, right? Because he said not only did he put people at the gates, but he put people on the wall, right? You need people strategically placed in your life that can see life from a perspective that you can't see.
That's so good.
They were on the wall. And so they had a view. And I think as Ezekiel said, like the wall watchers, those on the tower. When you see enemies coming, when you see the enemy coming and you don't cry out. The innocent blood is on your hand. We need you. All of us need people in our life on our walls that when they see the enemy, they're not afraid to cry out.
Listen, when you get better spiritually, everything get better. Spiritual life is not the only important part of your life. It is the most important part of your life because it affects every other part that's important. But you don't get stronger spiritually accidentally. It takes intentionality. You need to get fed, and you got to learn how to understand, how to interpret, how to apply, and how to explain the Bible. The Bible's the blueprint to your best life. And I'm going to tell you, Sunday's not enough to give you the tools that you need to get better with the Bible. I want you to join me in my community called Bible U, where I help you take your understanding, your application, and your explanation of the Bible to another level. Listen, guys, here's something. I just sense this too. Remember, we want this to be principle centered. So we're going to teach you this lesson, but we want to be spiritually sensitive.
Yeah.
You got me? So I know sometimes you may feel like, man, these guys are going on tangents. And that's not saying we're above going on tangents. And I think sometimes it's possible to go on tangents. But when we're ministering here, I think both of us have been doing this a couple of decades. So that doesn't mean we're perfect, but it does mean that we kind of know the difference between veering off into something that's just irrelevant or us hitting a river and tapping into a vein as it relates to the leadership and the promptings of the Spirit. And so that's something that we always want to create space for, because that's how, at least whatever God's done in my life, that's how I got there.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't read a book that told me to go to seminary.
Right.
God spoke to me and said, don't go to law school, go to seminary. I didn't read a book that said, plant a church and call it this. God spoke to me. I didn't read something that said, plant another church. I didn't read something that said, put one in Orlando. I didn't read something that said, put one in Atlanta. God spoke to me. Now, put it through the filter of principles.
Right.
Yeah, but you need truth and fire to thrive.
Yes, Lord.
You need principles,
Whew.
but I would be doing you a disservice if I told you all you need is principles. We need the presence also. And so I'm really sensitive here, because this is something that's not even in our notes, and because I got some more points to give you here. But one of the things you just mentioned, and it just spoke to me. It just resonated with my heart when you talked about watchmen on the walls. And so what those men in watchtowers did is that they see naturally, but that's a metaphor for intercessors.
Woo.
Who are on the wall spiritually. Come on.
God.
Who see now, and I want to talk about this because this is important.
Yes.
It's gonna sound like a tangent if you're not flowing with the river here. If you want us to just flow, put flow in the chat.
Come on,
flow.
flow.
Obey God,
Flow.
Pastor. Flow. You see, this is important because at some point we're gonna have to do a teaching here on Wednesday nights, because I think on Wednesday nights we can explain stuff in a way I can't on Sunday mornings.
That's good, yeah.
Or I might have to time the teaching where it's like, yo, we're doing the same thing I'm doing on Sunday, I'm expounding on Wednesdays when I get to something like spiritual gifts. Because there's a spiritual gift, not discernment, but the discerning of spirits, that I don't think a lot of people know what to do with, not because they're ignorant, but because we hadn't taught them. So people have these gifts and they're trying to figure out what to do with them without guidance and biblical mentorship. So that's you have what's called a spiritual gift mix. You don't have a gift, you have gifts. And the mix is like a mix God's giving you because they all complement each other in a certain way. So intercessors very often have the gift of discerning of spirits, right? And so there are things that they can see and sense that other people don't. Now, when a person has not been mentored on what to do with that gift, they become prone to gossip. Because now it's like they see stuff, or someone can walk in a room and they can discern something's off there. But because they hadn't been taught, you got another gift that you're supposed to use when that gift shows you something. They like, girl or bro, pray for such and such. They walked in the room, I felt something wasn't right. I felt something. So now they were right. So it's like you use the gift right? But you didn't respond correctly because you didn't know that means you're supposed to use the other gift. So intercessors should, like, there are certain things they might see coming. Or like have dreams and see and sense something, right? So some people are like, what am I supposed to do with the dream? Pray. Because some stuff that you may see that's negative, God wants you to push back that darkness.
Come on, spiritual warfare.
Come on, so he's giving you a glimpse of what can happen if you don't push back with prayer. And does that make? So this is why I think when you reconstruct anything, one of your prayers should be, Lord, you should be praying, Lord, raise up people that are on the wall for me. I don't hear anybody talking back to me tonight. Raise up people. Very little encourages me, like when people are hitting me saying, God's got me praying for you. I'm going to tell you the most encouraging thing that happened to me this year. I got a pastor friend in Orlando, Florida. His name is Pastor David Jocks. He pastors a church called the Kingdom Church. And Pastor texted me one day. And he was like, you know how people say I'm praying for you? A lot of people don't be praying for y'all. I'm going to pray for you. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It means like, so you know when people be like, yo, will you pray for me about that? I do it immediately. I do it immediately. Whether it's loud or, because I don't want to forget, or in my heart, I do it immediately. So he texted me like earlier this year. He was like, two things happened. So I think I was doing a transformational coaching certification last year, where the people that I had trained in transformational coaching and certified, they came together with me for a 1-day and a certification ceremony. So he was one of those people that got trained. And at that point, I think, he said something to me because we had some people there to help me or whatever. And he was like, yo, I'm glad you got this, and I'm glad you not so, because I know you don't want to be seen as Hollywood, but he's like, but what you are to the kingdom needs to be protected. And he said that to me. And then not too long after that, he hit me. He was like, I just feel like I'm supposed to be praying for you, so I just want you to know I am. So they had like this service in their church where they had a few days of prayer. And I get a clip where this man is at his church, in his pulpit, praying over me, Shamika, and Change Church. He at his church, in his pulpit,
so
calling my name, my church, and what is it? God has got people on the wall for me. And that has to be your prayer. God will put your name on the hearts of people who've been assigned to be on the wall. Guys, this is not a tangent now. Stay with me. Some of you are assigned to be on the wall. And the word for you is to get back on it.
Get back on it.
That's prophetic. Y'all, we done tapped into something here now. We tapped into something. Your assignment, God's like, if you'll stay on the wall, and if you'll watch for other people, God says, I'll watch for you. Did you hear what I just said?
So
if you will get back in your position and you will stay on the wall for others and watch for others, God says, I'm going to watch for you. There is no way God's going to let that young man pray over everybody else and their house and their ministry and God not cover his. It can't happen. Ephesians 6:8, what you make happen for another man, God will make happen for you.
And Pastor, I feel this is such a prophetic moment. This whole warfare has caused somebody to get off the wall because of what you've been experiencing, because of what you've been dealing with. You've got off the wall for somebody else, and this is your word. You got to get back on the wall.
Yeah.
You got to get back on the wall. I sense that so heavily about how what you said, what you make happen for others, God will make happen for you.
That's true.
Man, you got to get back on the wall.
Yeah.
Somebody put in the chat, I'm getting back on the wall. I'm getting back in place. I'm getting back in position. I've been out of position long enough. And the danger about being out of position, you don't know what you missed while you were out of place.
100%.